people don't just self-sabotage for the fun of it. Like, it's not fun. It's not fun at all, and people don't do it for fun. They do it because they're drowning. They do it because they need help. They do it because they're oppressed. They do it because they're depressed. Like, people need help, and sometimes we don't know how to ask for it, and sometimes we don't think that people care enough to help us through things, so we suffer. Welcome to Brown Girls Need Healing Too, the podcast where we dive deep into the journey of healing, transformation, and radical self love. I'm Kiana, and I'm here to help you break free from trauma, reconnect with your inner peace, and step boldly into the life you deserve. This is your space to feel seen, heard, and supported as we explore the tools, stories, and practices that will help you reclaim your power and rewrite your story. Because healing isn't just for some of us, it's for all of us. And brown girls need healing too. If I died tomorrow, or if I knew that I was going to die tomorrow, and someone asked me, what advice would you give your younger self, or anyone in general? These are the lessons that I've learned, and I really want to share it with people because I wish that I knew these things a long time ago. Mind you, everything happens in perfect timing, and every lesson that I've learned, I've had to learn and live through. So, although I'm saying I wish I would have learned it earlier, I don't because now it feels right. Now I understand. So, I did 32 lessons in 32 years. Obviously, I've learned way more lessons than this, but these were the ones that really spoke to me. These lessons were the lessons that really changed my life, and I'm hoping that it can help change someone else's. So, we're going to dive into it. This might be a little bit of a long episode. Feel free to speed it up if you wish. But lesson number one is the most important lesson and my favorite lesson because the minute that I started implementing this, I just noticed like everything else kind of fell in place. And lesson number one is a relationship with yourself is the best relationship you will ever have. The minute that you start loving yourself, taking care of yourself, setting boundaries for yourself, the world just starts to shift and respond to the love that you have for yourself. It's such a beautiful thing. Number two, people can only meet you from their current level of consciousness and self awareness. This is number two because I have to constantly remind myself of this every single day with every single interaction. Okay, not everyone, but most interactions I have with people who are limited in their way of thinking. That often trigger me by things that they say. I have to remind myself that, I can't you can't have conversations about places that you've been if no one else has been there. That's literally the equivalent of me talking to someone about Dubai and expecting them to understand, all of the towers that I've been to or the places that I've visited or the museums, and they can't. And they end up getting frustrated. You know, when you're in a conversation with someone and they don't understand what you're saying and they end up getting frustrated? That's exactly, excuse me, that's exactly what happens in life when you're having conversations with people about anything that they just, they have a limited understanding on. Number three, the universe is always conspiring in your favor. This one is such a sweet reminder because oftentimes we go through life and we feel like the odds are against us. And unfortunately, society teaches us to think that way. But the minute that you start understanding that closed doors are just blessings in disguise and closed doors are just forms of protection, like, it's not meant for you. And even situations that you're in that are toxic, you are learning a very important lesson. You're learning what you don't want. and you're learning what you do want to experience, and you're getting something out of it. You're always getting something out of it. And the universe always wants what's best for you. Number four, I learned this from one of my favorite manifestation, spiritual, esoteric teachers, David Bayer. His formula of desire plus non resistance equals desired result. This is the formula that I've used to manifest all of the great things that I've wanted to manifest in my life. And everyone has a desire for something. You might have a desire for financial freedom. You may have a desire to find the love of your life. You may have a desire to find peace within yourself. You may have a desire to travel. It could be anything. Everyone has a desire, and our desires are the propeller for change in our lives. And non resistance can be in any shape or form. For a lot of people, non resistance looks like negative thoughts or beliefs that they tell themselves that keep them in a stuck place or in a limited place. In the moment that you become non resistant to your desire, AKA, you start believing you are worthy of that desire, it will come to you. Number five, everything you desire desires you. It's my favorite. It's my mantra, and I say it all the time. I post about it all the time, and I bet people are like, oh, this girl is weird. But it's true. Everything that you want in life, the love of your life, the financial freedom, the cars, the money, the experiences, all of those things want you too. And all you have to do is align with a version of yourself that has those things, because all possibilities already exist in the quantum field. That's an episode for another. That's a conversation for another episode, so I won't get into that. But number six, don't take advice from people who don't think how the highest version of yourself would think. Crucial, because a lot of times we take advice from our friends or our family members, especially, and those family members or friends do not think how we think. For example, I wanted some relationship advice, some marriage advice, right? And I'm getting advice from a family member who has had failed relationship after failed relationship. And when I mean failed, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that they haven't aligned with the version of themselves that deserves a healthy relationship. So they have this filter of negativity, of toxicity. And this person is giving me marriage advice that is not helpful. It doesn't propel me towards a future with my husband that is peaceful and neutral. As a matter of fact, it propels me towards a future with my husband where I'm probably going to end up divorced because this person is telling me to be selfish. And as we know, when you get married, you become one and you have to consider your partner. So that's just one example. But don't take advice from people who don't think how you would think. And in all honesty, the answers that you seek are already within. You don't need to ask anyone because you already know. You just have to get out of your own way and listen to your own advice. Listen to your intuition, because it doesn't lie, and it will always guide you to exactly where you're supposed to go. Remember that desired result we were talking about? Your intuition is always going to guide you to that desired result, but you have to be able to listen to it. Number seven, setting boundaries is one of the greatest acts of self love. And you know why? It's because some of us grew up in environments or with caregivers or with parents that literally instilled in us to betray ourselves, to betray our thoughts, to betray our feelings in order to keep them comfortable. And it's ingrained in us. It is ingrained in us, like it's ingrained in us to stop at a red light. And so the minute that you start prioritizing your needs and your mental health and your energy over the desires of others, over people pleasing, you develop this trust with yourself that has been missing your whole life because you've essentially been relying on other people to make you feel better. But the moment you start setting boundaries with others, and the moment you start being okay with their reaction to your boundaries, and the moment you start being okay with being with yourself, like you take your power back on a level that I can't explain. Like, but when you know, you know. Number 8, how people treat you is exactly how they feel about themselves. We all know that one person that's like a shitty customer service or a shitty customer. Like going out to restaurants, always complaining, treating people in customer service like they're servants. And if that's not the biggest indicator of like somebody just not being happy with themselves because they don't give people the benefit of the doubt and they expect people to like serve them like there's some god or superior being, that's because they feel insecure and so they need those things to validate themselves. Hence, people treat you exactly how they feel about themselves. Have you ever gone to a relationship with a man or a woman, if you're a man listening to this, and they treated you horribly? They talked shit about you, they talked down to you, they made you feel worthless, they made you feel like you never did anything right. Hopefully, my husband's not listening to this because he says that sometimes. I make him feel like he doesn't do anything right. But yeah, you've entered in those relationships and those people treat you like shit, but it's literally only because that's how they feel on the inside. They can't treat you good if they don't feel good. Like it just doesn't happen like that. Number 9, everything is spiritual. As above, so below, as within, so without. The minute you reframe your filter of life as a spiritual filter or a spiritual journey, you really have a more 360 view of everything, like the problems you're experiencing in your relationship, the problems you're experiencing with your kids or work, your financial insecurity issues. Like, everything is spiritual. And the moment that you start approaching life with that mindset, you radically change not only how you show up, but how the world reacts to you. Number 10, in order to change your outer reality, you must first change your inner reality. This is so powerful because so many people live their life with the mentality of when I get this, when I do this, when I feel this, then I will be whole, then I will feel good, then I will be happy, then I will be better, then I'll be worthwhile, then I will matter, then people won't leave me. That is such a trap. And when you start understanding that how you think and how you feel will dramatically change your outer reality, when you realize that your thoughts create your reality, it's such a mental shift. And if you're writing notes, write that one down. Write it down. You want to change your world, you change your life. You want to know how I manifested peace, financial freedom, $1,000 business, $100,000 business with employees and benefits and clients. Like, you want to know how I did that? I changed the way that I think. I changed the way that I feel. And I decided that I was going to feel happy without any reason to. any reason, I decided that I was going to feel abundant, I was going to feel rich as fuck before my credit reflected that, before my bank account reflected that, before my outer reality reflected that. I'm sorry, I hit the microphone. Getting passionate about this. But that is so important. When you change your thoughts, I promise you, you will change your reality. Number 11, we all choose to incarnate into this world to our parents, to whatever trauma we choose to experience in order to become who we were meant to be in this lifetime. And this one for me is something that I'm still working through because I have a lot of childhood trauma that I am, currently working through. And so I have this on here because I'm like 50% there. I'm 50% to believing this, but I know in my heart that it's true. I know that my soul, before it incarnated into this lifetime, said, hey, I want to learn whatever lesson it is I'm here to learn. And the infinite intelligence that co-creates our world, our universe said, okay, ask and you shall receive. But as you know, you ask for courage, you don't get courage. You get lessons that give you courage. You don't ask for, when you ask for wisdom, you don't get it overnight. You get situation after situation, which allows you to learn a lesson in order to become more wise. So, number 12, who you choose as your spouse is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. It's not just about love, it's not just about, lust. It's about expansion, healing, and evolving. And if the relationship that you're in is not expansive, if you don't feel like it heals you or allows you to heal, and especially if you don't feel like you're evolving or growing, that's probably a sign that this relationship is not like the relationship for you. It's more so of a lesson. And as we know, lessons will keep repeating themselves until you learn from it. Number 13, emotional intelligence is everything, and most people lack it. And when I say most people, I mean a lot of people. Emotional intelligence is one of those skills that really requires you to have self awareness and to be selfless in the sense of being able to acknowledge other people's feelings, which, like without pointing the finger or placing blame. And it's very hard to do. I know very few people who are emotionally intelligent, and even the people that I do know that are emotionally intelligent, it's not like a end all be all, they still struggle in areas. I still struggle in areas, but it's a constant, it's a muscle, it's a muscle that you have to strengthen. It's a muscle that we're all currently working on strengthening. But once you start working the muscle out, it gets stronger. And a lot of people just don't work that muscle out because their egos are so intact that they can't acknowledge that they made a mistake or that they hurt someone without trying to hurt them in return. Number 14, people don't just blow up their world for no reason. Anytime you see someone acting out, making bad decisions, or struggling, ask yourself, what could that person be struggling with internally for them to show up in the world like this? I cannot tell you how many conversations I've had with people, friends, and family members where, I don't know what it is. People like to talk about why people make the decisions that they do. But I've had so many conversations with family members, and it's like I don't understand why this person is making the same thing a mistake over and over again, and just like literally talking talking so bad about this person that I don't know. It never sits right with me. But anyways, And I remember during one particular conversation, I said, well, what could this person be going through? Because people don't just blow up their world for no reason. And that is so true. People don't just self sabotage for the fun of it. Like, it's not fun. It's not fun at all, and people don't do it for fun. They do it because they're drowning. They do it because they need help. They do it because they're oppressed. They do it because they're depressed. Like, people need help, and sometimes we don't know how to ask for it, and sometimes we don't think that people care enough to help us through things, so we suffer and we self-sabotage, and our inner reality becomes a reflection of our outer reality, because if we don't love ourselves and we don't show compassion for ourselves, then we end up drinking, over drinking, overindulging in like all of the vices in the world, porn, drugs, um, mindless scrolling on the internet or social media, comparisonitis. Like, there's so many things that one could do to detach and distract. So consider that when somebody's struggling, it's because they need help. So let's not judge people. Let's be the one that helps people in those moments. Number 15, there is no such thing as good or bad. There just is. This one I know a lot of people are going to struggle with because we have been taught as a human society, our conscious collective ideology of morals is like what's good and what's bad, who's good and who's bad. And oftentimes, this is just really to control people. Like, good and bad, it's just to control people. There is no good or bad because everything that happens, everything, there is something that comes out of it. There is a lesson or something positive that comes out of each outcome, even the worst ones, believe it or not. Um, I don't talk about it a lot, but when I was a kid, I was sexually molested. And, for the people who have experienced sexual trauma, you can say, like, hey, that was a very bad experience for me. And this isn't to minimize anyone's trauma, it's not to minimize my own. But what I'm saying here is that in that experience, I became a person that helps other people. I became a person that makes people feel seen, heard, supported, and valued because I didn't feel that. I became the person to give people what I never had because it was something that's so important to me. So while we can say that, yeah, that was a bad experience, I don't regret who it has made me become because I love who I am today. And even through all of the negative experiences that I've experienced, I am so proud of myself and I love myself. So, number 16, your job is to stay in a state of calm, rest, and relaxation as much as possible. Do you know that everything that you desire is on its way to you, but oftentimes because of stress, worry, and anxiety, we miss those messages? We are born to be creators, not consumers. But the world that we live in is designed to keep us in a state of constant stress, worry, and anxiety. And if you can make it your job to be in a relaxed state as much as possible, your life is going to drastically change because you are able to approach situations from a standpoint of neutrality, not from stress, not from worry. I don't know who it was, but I think it was Albert Einstein said that you cannot solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it, meaning you can't solve your problems of financial insecurity or from issues in your relationship from a standpoint of fight or flight because you're going to make irrational decisions from a place of fear. And anytime we make fear based decisions, it does not work out. Side note, making decisions from a fear standpoint is probably a very important lesson for a lot of people to learn. Number 17, change your thoughts, change your reality. I talked about that before, but again, when you start thinking new thoughts, when you make it a point to rewire your neural pathways, your reality changes. And for the people that say, like, oh, you're just living in la la land, which somebody told me that, living in la la land, I'll fucking take it. And you know why? Because Delulu is the Salulu. I like it in La La Land because I lived in the valley of the shadow of death and I didn't like it there. But I like it here. And if I'm lying to myself, I might as well make it a good lie. Because you wake up, you lie to yourself, you tell yourself you're ugly, you're stupid, you're not worth it, nobody cares what you have to say. You're never going to accomplish anything. All of those are lies that we tell ourselves. So if we are going to quote unquote lie, at least make it worth it. Number 18, we are all connected. We are all connected. We are all connected. Unfortunately, the matrix, the society that we live in, is designed to keep us separate, to keep us hating one another, and to keep us fearing one another. Because if we are divided, we are less powerful. If we are fighting one another, we are in a state of constant stress, worry, and anxiety, and we are unable to see the bigger picture of things. If we are fighting one another, we are making decisions from a place of scarcity and fear. And we're continuing to subscribe to this perpetual cycle of being controlled by thinking that we're separate from one another. We all come from the same source. I don't care if you're white, black, Mexican, like Hispanic, brown, yellow, pink, purple. We are all connected. Number 19, everything in life has a masculine and feminine energy. This one is one that I recently discovered, but it kind of deals with, like, the ebbs and flow of life and the polarity of life. But if you think about Adam and Eve in the Bible, um, in my belief, the Bible is just an analogy. It's not a literal story of history. It's an analogy. And some people may be real. But the main point of it is that it's an analogy. And if you think about the masculine and feminine energy of life, the masculine and feminine energy of things, it is all about balance. My husband and I were both Gemini, so you could say that we're pretty much the same, but we're completely opposite. And it's a balance. Everything has a balance. Money has a masculine and feminine energy. Love has a masculine and feminine energy. Fear has a masculine and feminine energy. Number 20, life will repeat itself until you learn whatever lesson you must learn. Pattern recognition is a very important skill to have that most people don't. But when you sit down with yourself and you ask yourself, What pattern is continuously showing up in my life that I need to learn from? You are going to be hit like a tsunami with some realizations of things that have been occurring in your life over and over and over and over and over again. For a lot of people, this looks like their love life. This manifests in their love life. Or it also looks like financial decisions that you make. You make the same financial decision over and over and over again. So, until you learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn from that experience, it will just keep showing up. Very, very important. Number 21. The most dangerous thing you can do is accept what someone says or tells you is truth without fact checking it for yourself. Do you know, is it just me, or do you know people that will literally go to the ends of the earth to make a point or to fight about something that they actually don't know anything about? Do you know a person like that? I do. I know quite a lot of people. And so, if you know this person, if you are this person, I want you to get in the practice of saying, I don't have enough information on this topic to have a valid opinion. Just practice saying that. And I promise you, if you're having a conversation with someone, that will literally be the catalyst for change. You want to change somebody, you got to change yourself. I literally do not have enough information on this topic to have a valid opinion. So, and you can see when you're talking to someone who's fighting fighting this battle with you, that'll be the end of the battle because they don't know what they're talking about. I digress. Number 22. People who judge others judge themselves the most. This one was a lesson that I learned in MDMA therapy. And I realized like I had grown up being extremely critiqued, and everything that I did was wrong. My hair, how I dressed, what I said, how I felt, if I was tired, my desire for connection, like everything I did was judged. And it wasn't until now, it wasn't until, my MDMA therapy session that I realized, like, wow, people judge others because they have this internal dialogue with themselves. And oftentimes, people who judge others can be easily identified by the people who are perfectionist and high achievers because they may have witnessed, their caregivers or their parents being highly critical of other people. And as they grew up, they developed this inner dialogue because it's like, hey, was if I'm not dressed or if I wear pajamas outside of the house, am I not good enough? If my hair looks messed up when I go outside, am I not good enough? You see what I'm saying? There's actually a study done on this. People who have anxiety, there is a high chance that they grew up with a parent that was very critical of others. And so that child grew up with an inner dialogue that was critical of themselves. Look into that. I just learned that. Changed my perception of a lot of things. Number 23, all the answers you seek are within. I said that earlier, but I really want to touch on it because a lot of us go to other people to validate our feelings. This is one of those self love things. You don't need anyone to validate your thoughts or your feelings at all because your feelings are valid. Now, if is there a situation where maybe you could have done something differently or handled the situation differently? Sure. But a lot of the times, if you ask yourself, could I have handled that differently? You're going to come up with an answer. You don't need anyone else to validate you, and they can't because people have not walked in the same shoes as you. People have not walked to your path. Number 24, anytime you ask yourself a question, if you sit with it long enough, you will get an answer. Try it. Our minds are goal achieving machines. And if you ask yourself a question, you're going to get the answer. That's why therapy is so effective because most people go through life not ever asking themselves the right questions. And so when you get in therapy and your therapist learns things about you and recognizes patterns because they're professionals and that's what they're trained to do, they start asking you questions that make you think. And if you have the ability to be honest with yourself, you're going to get answers and you're going to be able to become the observer of your life instead of just a participant. Number 25, the more you love yourself, the less you need external validation from people, places, or things. The second I started focusing on my romantic relationship with myself, the less I needed friends, the less I needed to constantly talk to people, the less I needed people to tell me how beautiful I was, the less I needed money to make me feel better, the less I needed status to make me feel important because I made myself feel important. 26, your children are the greatest mirrors into yourself. This one is a hard pill for people to swallow because, again, if you lack self awareness, you're not going to be able to have honest conversations with yourself. I was in therapy and I remember talking to my therapist, telling him, like, loud noise overstimulates me, it triggers me, it causes me to be on edge. Like, it's just so loud. The kids are so loud. And he asked me, well, who's the loudest? Who yells the loudest out of everyone in your family? And someone who does not have self-awareness would say it was one of their kids. But me, I said me because I am. I am the yeller. The second I get overstimulated, I'm yelling at my kids to sit down somewhere or to be quiet. And they learn that from me. And so when you view your children as reflections of how you're showing up in the world, it can allow you to, one, practice self compassion for yourself, but two, it is the catalyst for change. Because if we want our children to show up a certain way in the world, we have to be the example. That whole do as I say, not as I do shit does not work. You have to be the guide, be the teacher. So let your children be mirrors into into the parts of yourself that you need to work on. Number 27, the moment you show yourself love and embrace yourself for all the bad decisions you made is the moment you stop carrying around guilt and shame for those decisions. I was in therapy and I was having a conversation with my therapist, and he asked me a series of questions, and every time I would answer it, he would say, so you feel shame, so you feel guilt. And I remember thinking, like, no, it's not shame. But at the core of it, at the foundation of it, it all stemmed from fear. I'm sorry, it all stemmed from guilt and shame. And we all walk through life making some shitty decisions, treating people horribly, stealing, robbing, doing things that we would not be proud of. We've all been there. And so the power that you get from forgiving yourself for those mistakes is so freeing because it's like these shackles that have been holding you back and holding you down and making you feel like you're not worthy are lifted. 28, everyone has a divine purpose. Everyone. Everyone has a divine purpose. We are all put on this earth for a reason. And my opinion of that reason is that we're here to help Earth evolve to become this high vibrating society. Number 29, it's not about why something is happening to you, it's about what you have to learn from that experience. Why do I keep attracting men that treat me shitty? Why do I keep manifesting money and losing it? Why do I keep having bad relationships with my friends and losing friendships? Well, there's something that you are doing that is contributing to these situations and circumstances, and you need to learn from it so that you don't attract those situations in the future. If you are attracting quote unquote shitty men, maybe the lesson you have to learn is that you need to love yourself more first, only. It could be anything. That's just one example. Number 30, as a kid, you adopted beliefs and thought patterns that weren't yours. The moment you start changing your limiting beliefs is the moment magic starts happening in your life. If you ask me, one thing I did to completely change my life and manifest my dream life, manifest this world where my husband doesn't have to work because we have manifested and created this business, this soul aligned business that radically changes the lives of the clients that we serve. I would say I got rid of my limiting beliefs surrounding why I couldn't have what I wanted. I grew up in an environment where I was taught you have to hustle in order to be rich. That hustle mentality of waking up, constantly working, burnout, not resting, like that is what was ingrained in me in order to become successful. But guess what? I tried that and it doesn't work. It didn't work at all. And the moment that I realized, like, money doesn't grow on trees. Sure, it doesn't grow on trees, but I am abundant and I can find a million things to feel rich about. The moment I started vibrating at a higher frequency because I was no longer letting those limiting beliefs keep me down, my life drastically changed. Number 31, the greatest predictor for the future is your past. So, if you want to change your future, you must start making new decisions and thinking new thoughts. If you are stuck in a situation that you feel like you cannot get out of and you need help, and you've tried everything that you could possibly think of, maybe the solution is to change the way you think about it. So let's say, let's just say, if you if you're entering in relationship after relationship and you're attracting shitty men and you want to change your future, you have to change your thoughts, right? One of the thoughts that should come up in this journey of changing your thoughts is that you are worth more. You don't deserve X, insert bad behavior here. You deserve better. And the minute that you start thinking that, feeling that, embodying that, you are going to show up differently in that relationship. And for some people, that might mean ending the relationship. For some people, that might mean applying pressure to your significant other in a way that you've never done before in order for them to shit or get off the pot, is the saying. Number 32. You are a divine being co creating life with the universe, God, your angels, Allah. Insert your higher power here, the God of your own understanding. You are co creating a life, your reality, with this infinite intelligence. And you have to remember that you're not at the mercy of the world. You are the wielder of the sword. And the minute you start living that, embodying that, your whole life is going to change. So, if you made it to the end of this episode, I want to thank you because it was kind of long. It's probably the longest episode I've done, but I know that at the end of this, you are going to take away so many realizations, so many things that may help you in your life, change your life, align yourself with the best version of yourself so that you can live a life of happiness and fulfillment and peace. But share this episode with someone that you love because the greatest gift that we can give is the gift of evolution, it's the gift of healing, and it's the gift of love. If you're listening on Amazon or Spotify or YouTube, or you have the ability to leave me a comment, please let me know which one of these resonated with you the most. And when did you learn this lesson? Was it now? Was it a long time ago? Tell me. I want to hear about your stories. Anyways, I love you so much for listening. I thank you and congratulations because you are on a journey to align with the highest version of yourself, and I'm here to support you for that. I will see you in the next episode.